I'm Michael McLaren, keeping the 7 p.m. chair warm for Chris Smith. He'll be back with you, I think, next week. Now, it may be the holiday season, but the news cycle just rolls on, and unremarkably, the headlines remain fixated on the coronavirus. Its spread, the numbers, the cost, the counter-attack. And with Sydney's northern beaches remaining the epicentre of the focus, it was again encouraging to see another day of low case numbers, with just 5 positive infections detected from more than 15,000 tests in the past 24 hours. Before saying any more, let's just acknowledge here the tremendous effort from all the health workers and the people who have turned up during the Christmas season to test, trace and keep us safe. Now, I know there are some panic merchants out there, namely some of the state premiers and their mandarins who see any case, anywhere, as an excuse to pull up the drawbridge and retreat into a Commonwealth-funded isolation. But the realists will note the New South Wales contact tracing methodology is sound and it's working. That's the good news. And from this latest outbreak and the way health authorities have managed basically to contain it, I think we should take courage that in New South Wales at least we have the ability to do what we're told we have to do from day dot, and that is live with this wretched virus. Because the economic cost of irregular, knee-jerk, medically dubious, broad-brush lockdowns, where the back of Burke is treated the same as Avalon Beach, are accelerating another pandemic. That's the pandemic of debt. And long after the virus has slid from the newspaper headlines, the Everest of debt will remain. Already this year, global debt has increased over $20 trillion. It's likely to exceed US $277 trillion as we enter 2021. That's not far away. And by 2030, it's estimated global debt could reach a staggering $360 trillion American dollars. Converting that into Australian dollars, I don't think most people would know what word to use. Quadrillion? That's a lot of money. And a lot of it, of course, recently borrowed to mitigate the economic impacts of COVID. Obviously, just like with carbon dioxide emissions, Australia's percentage of this debt mountain is small. But nonetheless, it's there, it's real, and it'll have to be paid back by future generations. Now, every shutdown, lockdown and border closure, as well as every restriction placed on the free operation of business, makes the task of getting the debt under control just that much harder. Now, that's not to say some lockdowns and restrictions aren't necessary. Of course they are. Of course they are. But they should always be measures of last resort because their impacts are monumental. For example, the latest set of restrictions whacked on the people of Sydney and New South Wales are likely to cost the tourism sector alone, this is nationally, an additional $3 billion. And as most of Australia prepares to bid farewell to 2020, thank goodness, in a semi-normal way, fireworks, gatherings and maybe a drink or three, the people of Sydney were told today to stay home and watch a truncated firework display on the box. A restricted so-called green zone and yellow zone have been in place, and even the plan to have frontline workers watch the fireworks from close-up special vantage points has been ditched. It seems, for some Aussies, 2020 will end in as depressing a fashion as it started. Still, for all the restrictions and all the changes, we have to be conscious of the bigger picture here. We may not recognise this current state of affairs as the Australia we know and the Australia we love, but it remains nonetheless one of the best countries on earth in which to live. Many of us would have gone to church just a few days ago, of course, for Christmas. And although every second pew was missing, singing was restricted, in some states masks requested and numbers were down, the juxtaposition with many places around the world was stark. In Iraq, for example, the fledgling Christian community there, constantly under attack, also gathered on Christmas Day, but with blast-proof walls and armed security at the ready. A decade of devastation from ISIS and extremists still visible in the bullet holes and the damage on the walls of the places of worship. All in all, despite the difficulties of 2020, I think we can still say confidently we're still doing okay.